And what a beautiful bowl of warm chocolate pudding to go with the fish sticks. Well, folks, we're hungry for something that has been a family favorite for years. It's an odd combination, but it is ever so good. And that is chocolate pudding and fish sticks. And then the chocolate pudding you don't use at this meal can be used in a pie or a chocolate pudding cup. It can be used as a dessert. But this is our main meal here, so let's come in and get it together. For the chocolate pudding itself, it takes milk, Hershey's cocoa, all-purpose flour, vanilla extract, and sugar. And then this happens to be the Mrs. Paul fish sticks. I like for my pudding to cool down just a little bit before I actually eat it. So I'm going to put these in the freezer, and then after the pudding is cooked, then I can bake these. Until then, the pudding should be about ready. I always have a decision to make like this. Am I going to use the stove or am I going to use the countertop burner? It's been a while since I used it, so I choose to use the countertop burner today. I'm making enough pudding so we'll have some left as well. So one batch, it takes 3 quarts of milk, and I'm just using a quart jar to measure it out. Although I'm not putting all the milk in right now because I need some to stir in with the dry goods here. One, 2. Okay, that's about a half a quart that I'll use to mix in with the dry goods in. I have not turned the burner on. Now I have a trick I've shared before, but this may be your first time with us. By the way, I'm Martha, and Dorothy and I welcome you to Hershberger's Miracle Homestead. If this is your first time with us, or if you haven't seen this trick before, we're going to put some of the sugar, layer it on the bottom, and then we can turn it on a high heat, and that sugar will prevent it from scorching. So that's our next step. This measuring cup has a nice pour spout, so I'm going to put it in here, then I'll just mix all the rest of the dry ingredients in here. Before I turn the burner on, I'm going to take this sugar and just drop it down in the milk. And try to make that the whole bottom is covered with sugar. I'm not going to put all the sugar in because I want the other stuff, dry ingredients, to mix in with some of the sugar. All right, so the sugar is going to settle to the bottom now. Now it's still on off. When I turn it on, the red light's going to come on. And now I'm going to put it up on the highest heat it has, of 5. When it reaches that temp, then the green light will come on. In the meantime, I will not stir it. If you stir it and disturb that sugar, then you are in for stirring the whole time. But as long as I do not stir it, that sugar is going to keep it from scorching. While that's going on, we are going to mix our dry ingredients here. This is the rest of the sugar. And I'm just going to put the flour in there with it. And the cocoa powder. And I will stir this up. That looks like it's combined fairly well. Here's where the rest of the milk comes in. We want to put it to the dry ingredients here, so that then becomes a liquid and be ready to add when the milk is hot. Oh, look at the bubbles coming. Must be air down in here. That's what you call cheap thrill, huh? Okay, we're just going to come in here with a whisk and combine this all together. And that should probably get rid of those air pockets. And I am doing like my sister Dorothy does, to work with small containers. I should have put this in something big to mix it. I don't like to work with small things, but I got myself in this pickle. Now I'm just going to deal with it. Now with the spatula, I'm going to stir it because the whisk doesn't get into every corner. And I don't want any dry stuff to be left unmixed in. Dorothy she's over the laughing. She said, this doesn't have corners. This doesn't meet all the way down in the very edge. Is that better? I assume y'all know what I meant. Having fun in the kitchen. Okay, get that scraped off with a spatula and now mix it in. All right, I'm just gonna give this a ride over to the sink on top of the spoon. I will keep the spatula in here until we're ready to put it in, so I can scrape this out plus stir it again just before we put it in. And then I have a wooden spoon or just something. I like to use a flat surface. Some people just use a spoon. But once this goes in the milk, then you have to constantly stir. And I like something flat so it goes across the bottom. Okay, my milk is hot and ready to go, but I do not want the milk to come to a boil. So I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. I don't know if you can see the steam coming up or not. There's little bubbles around the edge and the milk is starting to move just a little bit, so I don't want to have a mess here. As I said, just bring it to the verge of a boil, but I don't want it to boil. I'm pouring it on the spatula to keep it from splashing. And now I will scrape out. At this point, oh, I meant to show you. I'm going to go across the bottom. I meant to show you that it did not scorch, and I'm sorry I forgot to do that. And we'll just stir and stir and stir until it's done. I left the burner long enough to move the camera back so I can look at you when I talk. We got the countertop burner as a way of, I'm going to move this back just a little bit. If I hold on the black, I'll be all right. Now I don't have to stretch so far. After we were living here, it seemed like we had a lot of power outages. So we got this countertop burner as something to be able to cook on if the power goes out. It is run by electricity, so our generator was able to handle that. When Hurricane Helene came through, we were out of power for 8 days. And so out in the carport, I set up tables, and that was my cooking station out there. And between the countertop burner, we had an electric skillet, and then our toaster oven. And with that, why, that's what we prepared our meals on for 8 days. So that gave us a whole new appreciation of electricity when it came back on, and the convenience of a stove. Now, I don't like my chocolate a rich chocolate, so this is more like a milk chocolate pudding. But if you like yours rich, just add more cocoa. I think you can add some espresso powder, and that will help enhance the flavor of the chocolate. Even though you're stirring this, you do not want it on a high temp. You definitely want to turn it down. So I think we're not too far from done here. I want it to come up to where it's just boiling. I see a couple of bubbles coming. Okay, it's at a boil. Now I cut the burner off and remove it from the heat. We have one more ingredient to add, and that is the vanilla. So we'll add that in and stir it in. This will thicken up as it cools, but it'll also create a skin over it. So I have some plastic wrap here, and I'm just going to set it right down on the pudding, and that will prevent a skin from forming. Okay, the chocolate pudding is done, and except for the cooling down now. So now it's time to focus on the fish sticks. I have a baking sheet here. I'm just to put this on. Tuck it in there in the corners. We're ready to get the fish sticks in the oven now, and we used some of these already and just put a twisty on the bag, and that kept it well in the box. So I will just put some on the sheet now. All right, that should be enough for this meal. That's some more to put back in the freezer. Let me get them in the oven. They bake for about 14 minutes, but I'll turn them halfway in between. So here we go. The fish sticks are out of the oven, and this heavy-duty aluminum foil has saved our baking sheet. It's made for easy cleanup. You can see where there was air pockets that the Saran wrap did not hit, because the skin is starting to form, but that's all right. It is still very hot, but I'm going to pour it into the bowl. And what a beautiful bowl of warm chocolate pudding to go with the fish sticks. I have been anticipating this moment ever since we decided to do chocolate pudding and fish sticks. And as I said, this may seem like an odd combination, but trust me, it is very good. There we have it, folks. Chocolate pudding and fish. The pudding has not been in the refrigerator yet, but it's cooled down to near room temperature, and I want to put them in the cups now while the pudding is still real pliable. I have some graham crackers here, and I crunched them up, and we're going to do a layer of pudding, crackers, pudding, Cool Whip. I finished crushing the graham crackers. There's no big fancy way to do it. For no more than I need, I just crushed them in my fingers like this. And here's the other half of that cracker that I had. Okay, as I said, it is room temperature, but it's not hard and set yet. I'll put a layer of pudding. This is like a chocolate cracker pudding, I guess. Put a layer of crackers now. I want just a few saved, so I'll keep those there. And now we'll come in with some more pudding. So how pretty is that? At this point, I'm going to put the lids on here and put them in the refrigerator, and after they're cold and set, then we can put a dollop of Cool Whip on before they're served. The rest of the graham cracker crumbs here, I'm going to sprinkle on top of the Cool Whip after the Cool Whip goes on. So right now this goes in the refrigerator, and we'll see you back. We are ready to take the lids off of this. Okay, I just have a teaspoon here. I'm just going to get a little dollop of Cool Whip and put it on each one. And now with the graham cracker crumbs we have in here, just get a pinch in your finger. Add a little bit to the top. And there we go. Now we have our dessert cups.
This would mimic making a chocolate pie with a graham cracker crust. Dipping fish sticks in warm chocolate pudding is so good. Don't knock it until you try it. You'll find a link to a printable recipe in the description.
And now for the golden thought. Your journey is not the same as mine, and my journey is not the same as yours. If we meet on a certain path, may we encourage each other. Words are so important. They can be cutting, but they can be encouraging. And so it's very important to be an encouragement to each other, just to spur each other on and to wish each other well on this journey called life. We hope you've enjoyed today's video. We hope you've been blessed, encouraged, and inspired. And until next time, God bless. I had to smile in church yesterday because our pastor ended up, we hope you've been blessed, encouraged, and challenged. So I thought it's a lot what I say here.